Hi, I'm Matthew Light, and I'm here to talk about the online gambling social cause intervention for the University of the Sunshine Coast Marketing 222. The aim of the report was to identify solutions to reduce the amount of youth participating in online gambling. It has been found that the increase in online games that simulate casinos have been responsible for the increase in youth being involved with online gambling. Youth have an unawareness of the complete impacts of gambling addictions, and unaware youth are increasingly being addicted to gambling. The ease of accessing online gambling has been discussed and found that the online gambling is very unrestricted and no real effort is made to confirm participants' age. It has been stated that the desired target market would be teenagers aged between 13 and 17. Creative interventions have been created using the change behavior model. Creative advertisements have been created to change the habits of teenagers gambling online. The main evaluation for the intervention strategy will be utilizing social media insights. The ethical considerations have been discussed, and it has been found that the intervention will have a greater positive effect on the community. With the rise in youth participating in online gambling and the low awareness of the effects of online gambling among youth, it is essential that we identify solutions to prevent youth from participating in online gambling. The aim of this report was to identify theories and concepts that could be applied to resolving youth participating in online gambling. The report has developed a strategy to change the habits of teenagers that gamble online. Theories have been identified and heavily researched to develop a new concept, and finally, creative intervention strategies have been presented. The gambling industry is a $6.1 billion industry, and there's many health concerns related to online gambling, including depression, anxiety, alcohol abuse, and suicidal thoughts. The media is constantly glamorizing adulthood behaviors and gambling and drinking and smoking, and this is leaving adolescents unsure on the desired behaviors that they should be following. Increasing amount of youth getting involved with online gambling due to the rise of apps and games promoting gambling. The community is concerned about the impacts on youth from online gambling, and change behavior and demand model is a model that looks at 6 different stages. And you've got the pre-contemplation stage, the contemplation, the preparation stage, the action, maintenance, and termination stage. And essentially what this model is saying with demand, through the first 3 stages, the demand, or the intensity of the gambling addiction will increase. And then you'll get to a point where the user of online gambling will reach a point where they'll feel that they'll need to make a change. And this is the action point. This is where the consumer will feel as if they'll need to make a change, then they'll work through to the maintenance stage, and finally, ideally, they'll get themselves to the termination stage. And this is a change behavior and demand model, and will be applied later in the report. The target market that has been suggested is teenagers aged 13 to 17, male or female, that participate in online gambling. This has been discovered from heavy research that has identified that this age group is participating in online gambling through unrestricted access to online gambling organizations. Social marketing intervention use marketing principles and practices to make a positive difference in society, and what this intervention that has been researched and presented will reduce the health conditions related with problem gambling, including depression, anxiety, alcohol abuse, and suicidal thoughts. And overall, this intervention plan will have a positive effect on the community. The aim of this intervention is to reduce the amount of teenagers aged 13 to 17, male or female, participating in online gambling. Potential partners and important stakeholders. The local, state, and federal government may be able to assist with funding for the intervention plan. Immediate friends and family will be able to assist in reducing access to the internet for the teenagers involved with the addiction. The gambling organizations have an ethical requirement to be able to assist in funding the intervention. The media outlets will be able to use their power to spread the message of the intervention. Schools will be able to use content that's created through the intervention to be displayed throughout the schools. The community, by getting behind and supporting the intervention, will be able to spread the word by using word of mouth marketing. And finally, maybe a potential partner may be a gambling helpline. So this will be able to assist people struggling with a gambling addiction to be able to call and seek help and advice. And these are all very important partners and stakeholders that all play a valuable role in the intervention. So looking at the product strategy, so essentially you've got the core benefit or service, which is mentally feeling better. So this will make the consumer feel better. Actual product or service is saving money and reducing the amount of time on gambling, and the augmented product could be seen as the gambling hotline. The price strategy relates to the cost involved to the consumer in changing behaviours, and in this case, there's no real monetary requirements to change their behaviour. They're gaining money by giving up gambling. But really the non-monetary impact on the consumer, and this is essentially there's no money required for it, but it takes the time or physical effort required to change a behavior. And some of the consumers that are involved with online gambling might see the psychological effort and the time greater, and they might not be able to see a benefit with this. The play strategy. So the convenience of online gambling and the design of the website enhance the addiction. So this is why gambling addictions are so hard to overcome. And what the social intervention aims to do is change the psychological thoughts of the gamblers. So we need to create that instinct that they could be doing other things with their time. They could be out spending time with friends and family and really reinforcing a positive change and positive outcomes from them change. So it's more of a mental change and a mental mindset change and creating new habits to move away from their online gambling addiction. So looking at the promotion strategy, so the 7-month promotion plan utilizing Facebook, YouTube and radio advertising. So looking at the monthly plan, we have a week 1 Facebook, week 2 Facebook and YouTube, week 3 Facebook, YouTube and radio advertising. And what the radio advertising will just reinforce what's being spread by the internet, reinforcing the message that's been heard on Facebook and YouTube. And obviously with the radio advertising, we'll have to choose a radio station that has the 17 to 13-year-old males or females listening to that particular station, which is important to identify. In this case, would be Nova. The creative strategy and media planning, and what we essentially want to achieve is walk people through the change behavior model. And we want them to walk through each stage, and by using advertising strategies through Facebook, YouTube and radio advertising, the words that are used in the advertisements will relate to the particular stage in the change model. So for example, the pre-contemplation stage. Everyone is gambling online, but does everyone know you can lose heaps of money? Does everyone know gambling can lead to depression, anxiety, alcohol abuse and suicidal thoughts? So the pre-contemplation stage essentially is where the consumer is uneducated on a particular circumstance. So in this case, they're uneducated on online gambling and the negative effects that it can have on them. So the advertisements of objective in this instance would be educating the consumers to have a mindset that they're able to obviously be able to tell that online gambling can have a negative effect on them. Then we move to the next stage of the change behavior model, and that's the contemplation stage. So this stage is where consumers aren't sure on whether they should continue gambling or whether they should give up gambling, and they're not sure what direction they're heading in. So this stage, maybe we can depict feeling versus reality, and in the advertisement that's displayed in front of you, you can see, you're wasting your money. You want to spend your money on better items, and why are you still gambling? So this essentially can be adapted to a YouTube video. Also, this can be sent out as a meme, and the wording can be used as a radio advertisement. And essentially, this is getting the consumer to think, are they doing the right thing? What could they be spending the money on if they weren't gambling online? The preparation stage is the next stage. So this is probably the peak, and this is where they are seeing, I suppose, the addiction has increased past the point where they're feeling comfortable. So they're looking for change. This is where they want to make change. They're looking for new habits. They're looking for new ways to spend their time, and they're looking to plan their future. So this is where they're probably feeling down in the dumps. So you want to get out there with online gambling. I need to quit. I need to plan for the future. I can change my life. This is where they can change their life. So using the images of someone looking down, and then using the I quit, reinforces the message that they can quit, they can plan for the future, they can move on with their life. The action stage, the online gambling. There is more to life. Giving up online gambling will make you feel better. So this advertisement can yet again be adapted to YouTube, Facebook, and radio advertising, and done over a month. And essentially, the action stage is where the consumer is looking for new habits. They're looking to use their time better, and they're looking to move away from their old habits and to create new habits. And this is why we've used positive images to create a positive thoughts, and this is an opportunity for the consumer to move to new habits. The maintenance stage essentially is where consumers are looking to reinforce their behaviors. Obviously, they can go back to their old behaviors at this stage, but this is where the advertisements need to reinforce their behavior. Giving up online gambling has changed my life. I feel better. I spend more time with friends. I have a life, and hashtag never going back. So this is where you want to reinforce the message of you don't want to go back because you've seen the positive, you've seen the bright side of coming through to this stage. And finally, we move to the termination stage. This is where we need to reinforce the new habits, where they're spending more time with friends and family and they're not wasting their money. So I have given up online gambling. I feel so much better, and hashtag never going back. And this then can be applied through Facebook memes, used into a YouTube video using the same positive images, and then essentially the words can be used in a radio advertisement to reinforce the message. So essentially it is a 6-month plan that will change the behaviors and the mindsets of online gamblers. It is important to measure the excess of the intervention, and we can do this in multiple ways. But online surveying of people in forums and online gambling sites, we can ask them the question, have the advertisements that you've seen in relation to gambling habits or gambling addictions, has this changed your perceived mindset, and has it had a positive effect on you? We can also do industry surveys, so we can send out surveys to organizations to see if they've had a decrease in people participating in online gambling around the time that the intervention was occurring. Also, finally, I think the most valuable source that we'll be able to use is social media insights. And social media insights through Facebook and YouTube will be able to identify, I suppose, positive and negative messages that have been sent out about what we're discussing, and essentially online gambling. So where you can see who's talking about it, who's shared it, and the age and demographics that are really being interactive with the social media campaign. And this will be very valuable to identify whether or not the intervention has been successful. Finally, the ethical considerations that need to occur. Does the intervention have greater positive effect on the greater community? And that's essentially the answer is yes, because you're changing the behaviors of people for the benefit of themselves. These people obviously are struggling to give up doing something that takes up a lot of their time. It wastes a lot of their money, and usually the people participating in online gambling don't have the money to waste, and they get to a point where they can't return and they struggle, and this is where the helpline will help, and this is where the advertisement strategy and the intervention plan will change their mindsets. And this is a positive impact on the community, because we need to remember that online gambling has multiple negative health concerns that apply. So that leads to suicidal thoughts. It has implications on your mental health. So there's major negative impacts of online gambling. But we do need to keep in mind the potential negative impacts of the intervention. And we need to keep in mind gambling organizations make large donations to charities. So as organizations lose money through the intervention, they'll have to cut back donations to organizations, and these are usually children's organizations that they make donations to. Gambling organization employs large amounts of people, so people may lose jobs if the gambling has a great decrease. Also, the advertisement could get consumers to think about online gambling as well. So essentially, because we're mentioning online gambling, it might bring the thought to consumers' minds, but the impact of the advertising that's being created will hopefully deter people from taking on online gambling. Finally, it has been identified that youth are increasingly susceptible to online gambling addictions. This is due to convenience and youth having easy access to the internet. Online gambling has not got strong identification processes to prevent underage youth involvement in online gambling. The model of change behavior and demand model has been applied to the intervention. The intervention works through the 6 stages of the change model, and the advertising strategies have been stated. Evaluation is using the social media insights, and has been identified that the social intervention has a positive effect on the community, and this answers the ethical question.